Welcome back to Switched to Linux. So today we're going to talk about scamming the scammers. Unfortunately, just scamming is just going all over. Spam and scams and whatever else, whether it's telephone calls, whether it's text messages, whether it's emails. We have to become more and more vigilant as we live out our days to avoid these guys. Sometimes they get us such an elaborate system that for us it just kind of seems legitimate. And so today I'm going to talk about that because it's really fascinating. I'm actually going to talk in detail about one level of scam, but I'll just really briefly hit on the amount of scams and spams that I've seen in the last 24 hours. Literally. So I posted a couple things up on Craigslist, and within 24 hours of that, I get this really funny message that literally says, and this is a text message came to me. That was kind of my first clue. It wasn't real. It says, "Dear customer, your account will be suspended. We already been informed by 3 different persons that your post could be used for SC and then amming, so scamming, purposes. To avoid suspension, please respond to the message to help us identifying them." And there's a space, a period, them. Regards, Craigslist support. You can't make that up. And I'll even show you that phone number. It's probably just a throwaway phone number. I'm not quite sure. If it's not a throwaway phone number, then they're going to want to throw it away if they're posting that on YouTube. Of course, I emailed Craigslist with that because obviously that was not Craigslist, just so they're aware of it. And unfortunately, this is kind of the downside of things, is that really not much gets done about this stuff. You just got to be vigilant because they send us, "Hey, you may receive messages that appear from us. Ask for a login, blah, blah, blah. These are phishing attacks." No kidding. I sent the message to them so that hopefully they might be able to do something about it, track something down. So what did I do? Well, I just decided immediately I'm taking my phone and my text message off of anything I ever put on Craigslist. I had luck with that in the past. I sold a car about 2 years ago on Craigslist, and it was a great experience. But the texting, literally, I never met the guy until we both showed up, because we'd been texting the whole time. I thought, hey, texting would be a great thing. Apparently not anymore. So I'm leaving all phone numbers and stuff off. I just wrote, you got to use the Craigslist secure email platform and we'll meet up and sell stuff. As a web developer, actually, I just deleted about 15 of these today. Behind me here, where's my deleted bin? You probably will not be able to see these, but these are from the people. Domain Services is where this comes from, and you definitely can't see that from the screen there. But they actually have red text that says "Important Notice," "Expiration Offer Notice," Domain SEO Service Registration Corp. Whoever these people are, I hope somebody shuts them down. Because there's just basically what they do is they harvest your domaining information in order to, and they just mass send out. In fact, I deleted, I think, 15 or so of those today. And a lot of the reason I get so many of those is for my customers, because I run a small scale hosting platform attached to my web design business. I keep my customers' data as minimal on there as possible. I actually use my businesses to account for an extra layer of privacy. And so I end up getting all those spam instead of my customers, so that my customers aren't accidentally paying some scam company some money. But if you don't know what you're looking for, man, that looks like an invoice. Even though it says really small print on the bottom, this is not an invoice, because that's the only thing that's required of them to make it, quote, legal. So this company is doing everything, quote, legal, but there's no way to get off their mailing lists. Oh, boy. So we've covered the Craigslist, the text messaging. We've covered this. Oh, I got one the other day that actually, I had to get on to a computer, double check the links in the system, and go, oh, yeah, that's definitely not where it was from. It was proposing to be from a Microsoft verification, account verification stuff, which obviously I know don't click anything inside the email. Hopefully never click something inside of an email that says you need to verify your account. Everything looked perfect though. I mean, it had the logos, it had everything was perfect. Except when you hovered over that little button, you could see on certain web browsers that it was definitely not going to a Microsoft account. And I didn't click on it. I didn't really want to know where it was. Had I had a machine like a Tails or something handy readily, I would have logged in with it there, clicked on the button just to see what it is. In fact, I want to open up, I guess the other thing is I get about 15 or 20 of these a day. It's like DHL parcel details. It has a .zip file. I'm guessing this is one of the encrypto viruses that's going around, because I have on my business sales pages, there were some old emails I used to publish on those, which were basically just the sales emails. So, those got on the spammer lists, but it's good to have some type of outgoing email. There's better ways of doing it now, but 5 years ago or 6 years ago, I set these businesses up. And so I probably delete 100 of those a week. I don't know. I actually do want to boot a computer with no hard drive in it at all into Tails, go onto the internet, and I want to open some of these up, see what they are. Eventually I'll get to it. But today specifically, I'm going to talk about scamming the phone scammers. Because I'll tell you, these guys they breaking federal law. Absolutely. My phone number's been on the Do Not Call registry since the Do Not Call registry has existed. Now, I'm in a state which has a separate state Do Not Call registry, which is linked to the federal one. There's actually extra penalties for contacting somebody in my state. So if a telemarketer were to call me illegally because of the Do Not Call list, I could actually sue them on the federal level and on the state level, and there's an extra penalty. The problem is the vastest majority of these scammer guys are now doing things through throwaway phone numbers and attaching themselves to, overseas or international groups, which have divisions of them that operate in the United States. So they could be shut down, but it's just they're hard to get a hold of. And so this video and my accompanied article, I'm going to talk about what I think some of the things could change in this country to allow that. But I'm going to tell you about my experience. So probably you have probably experienced this one as well. Now, understand that I've had my phone number for a long time. So it's not like a phone number that's like brand new. I have no idea where they're getting the number from or whatever else. But also, as long as I've had my number, I never put anything on any forms that is unnecessary. And so where'd they get the information? I don't know. Maybe it was some data hack somewhere. Maybe they randomly dialed numbers until they get one that's not a bad number. Who knows? I don't know. But anyway, these guys will call, and you'll get the robocall. Congratulations, you've won a vacation. And I used to get really mad when I get these, like, I'm busy and robocall. You can't be calling me. I'm on the Do Not Call list. I get mad. Well, I don't know if it was James Veach or, watching too many guys taking advantage of scammers over there on the net that just made me want to just play with these guys. So what I did is actually just wrote down some information here and just threw it in my desk drawer. And so this is available with a number, a phone number and an address that's publicly available of a law enforcement agency. So I get them on the phone. I actually usually talk with a funny accent because I can switch to like various different accents right away, really quickly. And so I usually do that. Like if you don't want them to talk to you, you usually switch to like an Indian accent and they'll just kind of hang up on you. I was thinking about doing like an old man or something to keep them on the line. Of course, in my state, if you take advantage of an elderly person on the line, there's an extra penalty. Haha, keep that in mind. But I have here the public address, public phone number of a law enforcement agency I got online. I just keep this and I just make sure I don't want to miss out on any future calls, and I get this added to the mailing list. I hope that's legal. I don't know if it is or not. hopefully, if they call a law enforcement agency, they'll get shut down faster. That's my thought. And then, of course, now here's another fun thing. When you're doing like credit card payment process checks for web design applications, I'm getting a little camera lag there. I'm not sure why. I'm going to play with my camera settings later. Actually, it's really bad. Okay. What you can actually get is you can get test cards to test out your payment processing systems just to make sure that everything is working right. And so I use the Discover card one that looks more real. You know, like the Visa and MasterCard ones have long strings of zeros in there. They don't look real. This one actually looks more real, and so they don't catch it as much if you give them the Discover card that's used to test payment processing systems. So I have all this stuff written on this piece of paper so I can get them. Now, I made a critical flaw in getting this ready is I don't have an email address. Obviously, I'm not giving them my real email address, nor should you, nor am I even giving them my email address that I give to legitimate purpose things that need an email address, but I don't really want them to have my regular one. I have one email address for that. So I'm thinking like, set up a free Hushmail account or something like that in order to just get the, get an email address established for if these guys keep calling, because they just keep calling. You can report them to the FTC until the day comes home, but the problem is that they don't actually check on the numbers. So anyway, I get the phone call, and this was, I would say it was like 3 weeks ago. I get the phone number, and I actually end up getting on the, getting a person on the phone who was kind of like their first day or first week on the job, and so they didn't, first they didn't catch on to my fake Indian accent, which was just hilarious. And right in the middle of this, I had a friend come over to drop something off and got a chance to hear this. It was just a hoot. So I took lots of notes here. So they call from throwaway phone numbers that, if you were to call these guys immediately back with the phone number, it's just a fake phone number. And then they, this call was actually at 9:04 a.m. I'm not sure why they waited until 9:04. If they're going to break federal law, I may as well make it 5 a.m., There's from Cancun Dream Vacations. So Cancun Dream Vacations, and it was Donna Mitchell, corporate ID number 4319 is the person who called me, and she transferred me over to a guy named Nick Lewis. So, of course, congratulations, you've won a free vacation that somewhere morphed into you need to pay a couple dollars in taxes to, after I got them on the phone, they wanted to charge my credit card $998. Free vacations, man. Wow. And of course, today only, take advantage of this quickly. Of course, what these are, you might legitimately get some vacation out of this for $1,000, but what this is it's a scammy company that their main office is based on a website that is called Bahamas Royal, and they have one bahamasroyal.com and one bahamasroyal.net. And there's another accompanying Facebook page, which I thought was quite comical when I tracked the page down. There's like a comment exchange between the administrator and one person about the scam. It was kind of funny. But basically what these are they are sales pitches to get you to sit through a 60 to 9 minute VIP lunch, which is a timeshare system. Of course, a timeshare is the worst way to take a vacation. Don't do a timeshare. It is cheaper to just rent a place for a week somewhere, and with a timeshare, you're stuck to the same place every time you go. Just rent a different places, But anyway, these guys call up, and, I'm a good citizen, so I actually file the complaint with the FTC. I file the complaint with the state system. And very shocking, I got a letter back from our state Office of the Attorney General. Very fascinating. And the Office of the Attorney General basically says, hey, we've reviewed your complaint regarding an unwanted telemarketing call you received from an unidentified telemarketer. And this is what makes me most mad about this letter I received from the Attorney General's office for my state, is that this was not unidentified. I gave them excessive quantities of information. I took lots of notes. I gave them I gave them the phone number they called from, which was fake. And I wrote in the comments, this is a fake number, but this is the number that quote unquote called me. I gave them the real number, 877-744-5102. Shut those people down. I gave them that real number that they called. Apparently, this is the number that you can call to book your vacation. You know, you pay your $1,000 and then you have up to, I don't know, 2 years or whatever, 18 months. You have 18 months, it looks like, according to my notes, to call them up and go to one of these various destinations. I gave them that phone number. I gave them the business information. Their websites are hosted and domains purchased through GoDaddy. So it's like this is not unidentified information. I gave them tons of information because I sat on the phone with a scammer for a half hour long enough to get real information. Because if I just give this phone number called me, it's useless information. Okay, but anyway. Our review of your complaint determined that the call originated outside the United States. Yes, I know that. The caller may have used internet technology to conceal its identity using call forwarding, an internet-based number, or by displaying a false caller ID, which makes it appear the call originated in the United States. No kidding. I said all that in your notice. You didn't have to research too much. All right, and since the calls originating outside are beyond the jurisdiction of the do not call provisions of the state's Telemarketing Registration Act, we are unable to take further action. Fascinating. If you also are registered on the do not call list, you may want to file a complaint with the Federal Trade Commission at donotcall.gov or call 1-877-FTC-HELP. That's 877-382-4357, and you should call them and contact them and fill out a complaint every time one of these guys does. It's the only way they're going to get a little bit of a fire lit under their butt to go and get involved in the international relations to shut these guys down. Okay, understand this. These scammers are doing this because they make money. And the more people that are giving them money, the more they do it. But if you get a whole lot of guys like us that are thinking about it, or maybe guys like you, if you're thinking about doing this kind of stuff, you do this kind of stuff, right? You're wasting a lot of their time. If they get to the point where it takes them way, way, way more money than it's worth, than they make, you know, but hiring some monkey to sit in a cubicle for $1 a day, making phone calls, reading from a script, if 1 out of 100 of those are successful and you make $1,000 that day, you pay your floor staff $20 and you walk away with $1,000 profit, it's a good day. That's why they do it. That's why they do it. If you guys are not scammers, you want to think so, come, please challenge me. Please challenge me. I'm going to take you to court and sue you for $5,000 because that's unfortunately my state statutory limits. Violation of state and federal laws. So otherwise, neener, you're a scammer. Prove me wrong. All right. It's going to taunt you now. All right. Okay, the FTC partners with law enforcement agencies in other countries to pursue cross-border telemarketing fraud. I'm aware of this. If you report this call to the FTC, your information may help. Apparently, my information is not crossing lines. Okay, we will keep a copy of your complaint. So, good to know. All my hour of time, actually it took me about 2 hours to do all this. You know, I spent an hour on the phone with these idiots and then another hour filing complaints with the state and the federal level. And, of course, now they just told me what I already knew, but hey, what else can you do, right? So, basically, suppose, let's part A. Suppose you want to get into this kind of stuff, and I'm by no means an expert. This is the first time I've actually, hooked him on the phone, had the time, had the ability, and was at a computer and could get all this done. I just, I'm not sitting at my phone and I'm not actively pursuing where are these guys so I can mess with them. It's kind of like the shot of the opportunity. They send me the phone call. If I'm ready to go, we're rocking it. So if you want to get into this type of stuff, first, check out some of the other scammer channels, and I'll try and find some and put them somewhere. I don't know where. But have a little piece of paper with some basic fake information ready. Just update the address, update the phone number and stuff. They're going to keep calling the number. Now, and I guess this is a good point to mention, the FTC's recommendation is if a robocall calls you or whatever calls you to say, they say, don't interact, just hang up. I got to tell you, I did that for 2 years. It doesn't do anything. They don't stop calling. They don't, period. The only way is if we as a country stand up, waste so much of their time, their profits go down to nothing, they'll figure out some other scam and hopefully it's elsewhere. But you never know. So get yourself a piece of information, like a piece of paper here with a bunch of information down here, and that's handy. And so I included, an address to give them, a phone number to give them, a test credit card, because it actually looks like a real credit card, although it's not. These are publicly available. I picked this one off the PayPal website, the PayPal developer. And what I did not do correctly that you should do is make sure that you have a good disposable throwaway email address that is dedicated specifically for the scammers, because that's the one thing I wish I had done, because they had said on this call that, oh, what's your email address? We're going to send you all the information. I would have had the actual legal information in my inbox to forward to the law enforcement so they could track down better what's going on. But I didn't. So my mistake. I'm going to work on that. So that's kind of my quick tips. Go check out the tips from the guys that actually scam scammers on a regular basis. There's tons of channels out there on YouTube. We'll just look them up. They're a hoot. It could be anything from the computer guys. I've never been called by one of the computer scammers. I'm so waiting for that. They tell me on a PC, I'll go to a Mac, I'll go to Linux. In fact, I got this one. This is my new. I'm gonna about 2 weeks or so. I'm gonna be doing a video on reviewing this one. This is Linux Mint with KDE that I set up. But on my Ubuntu computer, it also runs this computer. On my Ubuntu operating system, I put Windows 98 on there. That'd be fun to mess with a scammer. Fortunately, I want to keep my computer relatively virus-free, so I've blocked access to the network. See what those guys have to say. They do it on a lot more basis than I do, so it'd just be better to see what they have to say. But what I actually wanted to focus on more is our response as a country. I think there's a few things that we could do different, and I kind of wrote a list, and I'm kind of reading this from my blog post. So check out the blog post that corresponds. There'll be a little bit more detail here. So basically, I write here, the scammers and those seeking to inappropriately use the call lists are getting out of control. Government agencies can be effective but are slow. I would propose a few changes to the law in order to allow victims of these scammers to help empower law enforcement to take down these callers. So the first thing I think that we could really do is, under the cases where an international caller or a fake caller or any telemarketer caller or anybody calls us on the phone and we're on a do not call list, I think we need to have a provision in the law to suspend the two-party consent laws. Now, many states, United States, have one-party consent, which means that anybody on the phone call can record the phone call without telling anybody else. Unfortunately, my state is a two-party consent, so I can take these fun notes. I can't legally record these phone calls. Just sad. However, maybe if I say, hey, I can legally record it and put it on here because, hey, they're breaking the law first. There is a provision in the law for that kind of stuff, but I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know exactly how everything works. But in my state, I can't record the phone call unless the party on the other end of the phone is aware of it. So my ultimate question is, if a very realistic sounding robocaller calls me, and for the first 5 seconds, I think it's a real human being, and I say, hey, I'm going to record this call, and I don't hear any objections, is that legal? Have they consented? And then if the robot then passes somebody else, is consent already there, or do I have to renew it? And the reason I think we need to disable this two-party consent issue is because with these guys, they know they're breaking the law. And if you'd come down and say, Just so you know, we're recording the call. You're going to be hearing a dial tone real quick, and you have not helped to track down who this guy is. And that's what we need to do. We need as much information going to the law enforcement as we can possibly get to the information so they can shut the guys down. The second reason we want to stay on the phone with them longer is the longer they are on the phone with a person that realizes they're a scammer, the less they're going to be getting from real people who are gullible. So waste their time. Keep them on the phone for 3 or 4 hours. That'd be fun. See how long you can get them on the phone. That'd be fun. All right. But eliminating that would allow us to actually record phone conversations without announcing we are recording it. And I'm not saying totally eliminate two-party consent across the board. I'm saying in the case where my number is on the do not call list and I get called by a robocaller, allow me to legally record that phone conversation to be used as evidence. Because otherwise I have very little evidence other than a phone statement. And the problem of the matter is, when you click on the button, whatever number calls you isn't a real number. To get a real number, you have to interact with them in a way that they think they're going to get money. When they think they're going to get money, well, you can always follow that money. And you can follow the numbers. So that's why they're not going to call me from this 877 number. They're not going to call me from that number. All right. What they're going to do is they're going to call me from some cheap throwaway number that is never used again by them, at least no time soon. It's definitely not trackable back to them. And eventually, though, they'll get me information. They'll get me the data. So I know exactly what this company is. Law enforcement, go shut them down. It's Bahamas Royal. Their website is hosted at GoDaddy. Their domains are purchased at GoDaddy. With enough people just saying, hey, these guys are calling me and I'm a United States citizen on the federal do not call registry, that is enough information for them to unlock the domain privacy at GoDaddy, get the actual person who owns the site and shut them down. Do it. I'm doing this in part to tell you I know who the guy is. I mean, I've gotten as far as I can as a private person. Okay, the second thing that I think we need to do as a country is we need to change the reporting methods for these illegal calls, because there's no way all there is what number called you. Well, this is the number that called me, 215-358-4553 at 9:04 a.m. from Cancun Dream Vacations. Pardon my bad spelling or whatever else. I was just writing fast. I know what I was talking about. I can correct it later. It's a throwaway phone number. The systems do not allow for the rapid advancement of technologies. So what we need to do is, let's see. Reporting methods for legal calls should be changed to account for the modern world where scammers generally use one-time throwaway numbers. Okay, so I was able to get these guys talking where I finally found this real number. It does appear to be connected to a real entity that operated officially out inside a United States jurisdiction. They seem to have close property ties, particularly in Florida, which a lot of people online are saying that seems to be the case. Okay, I listed all of that extra information in my letter, and they still write down an unidentified telemarketer. They're not unidentified. I told you who they were. Okay, so we need to change the reporting method. I left a lot of extra information. It didn't seem to help. And I think the third thing we need to do is we need to reevaluate the concept of these throwaway numbers. Now, there are a few very legitimate reasons for having one of these throwaway numbers, but the propensity of abuse is infinitely higher. And we need to account for that. So what I write here is that I think that when you use one of these numbers by proxy, I think it should tie itself to a publicly searchable online and verified database that is valid for at least 5 years. And that sounds a little creepy and a little crazy, But you know, if a company needs to use some spoofed, if you need to use a spoofed phone number, sure, we can do that. But a person who gets a call from that spoofed phone number should be able to have the ability to go figure out the origin of that spoofed phone number. You know, I mean, I have on my websites, I have Google phone numbers listed because I'm not listing my cell phone on my business phone number, you know, on my business number. And I have the Google number set up that sometimes they will, based on the time of the day and whatever else is going on in schedule, whatnot, sometimes we'll ring my phone, sometimes we'll just go right to a voicemail. But it filters a lot of scammers out by that going there. It's like, I think the one number, I think about a bunch of robocalls are trying to call it because I get a whole lot of guys going back and forth. So those are kind of the few things that I think we could do differently as a country regarding the laws that would help us track down who the scammers are and help us get them shut down. Because we got to get these guys shut down. And you know, if they're making, I mean, if they're making $1,000 on a phone call, and they're doing, you know, a couple, I mean, think they're probably doing several thousand calls a day. If they're making $10,000 a day on this, that's too much money to give to the hands of a scammer. But if it takes 5 to 10 years to shut one of these guys down, that's an inefficient system. No. All right. So let me tell you about this company here, Cancun Dream Vacations. I wrote 7 items inside under the topic, this miserable waste of humanity, because that's pretty much all I'm calling them at this point in time. So let's see. And of course, I'm not hot linking their particular sites on my article because I'm not giving them credit, nor do I want my site anyway associated with them. All right. They do use 2 types of robocallers. And they both are tied to the same company. One of the types of robocallers is kind of like the female voice, you know, it's your robocaller, congratulations, you have won a vacation. The other one is a very, very human sounding, very convincing sounding robot. And it's, hi, this is Robert. Can you hear me okay? Oh, okay, great. So I'm just calling in regard, it's a very human sounding, it's spooky, in fact. So the second is they are aware of the do not call numbers. They just don't care. Because they're over there in the Bahamas as their main group, which is just outside the United States legal jurisdiction. And then they call all the people in the United States to get them filtered up into their little properties up in Florida through some subcourt, most likely. So the last time the guy called me, which was Wednesday, I'm kind of walking to a destination. I was outside. I just parked my car. The phone rings. I pick it up. It's an actual human being calls me, probably because I spent 30 minutes on the phone with him. He was trying to call me up to get whatever else. And I started the phone conversation by saying, hey, are you aware you're breaking federal law? The guy literally says to me, I kid you not, at this point, I don't care. And then he proceeded to try and get into his sales pitch again. Let's just string the guy up. Oh, man. They are aware of the do not call registry. They just don't care. In his words, at this point, I don't care. They are giving free vacations that actually cost $998. Now, that number has actually gone up. About a couple years ago, I think they were charging like, I don't know, 7-something. But this is $998. That seems to be the new number if you do some research on these guys. Their free vacations have another cost. They are actually requirements to sit through a timeshare presentation. Now, the link on there goes to Dave Ramsey's timeshare site. Let him tell you why timeshares are so bad. Number 5, they operate this at sites bahamasroyal.com, also bahamasroyal.net, which I didn't include here. The websites are hosted at GoDaddy. The registrar is GoDaddy. They do have domain privacy on, so I can't get any more information than that. They also have a Facebook page in their company name, Bahamas Royal. There is one comment talking about the scammer and the guy wanting money back. And they are relentless. I tried to ignore them. They don't go away. Just mess with them. Just mess with them. Get them on the phone. Have a couple laughs. Enjoy it. Scammers everywhere. This world is getting crazy with the scammers. We have got to do something about it. But if there's ever been a time we need to have critical discernment in our life, this is the time. This is the time. We got to scam the scammers to the point where scammers are like, there's too many guys scamming scammers. We don't want to do this anymore. We're not making any more money. That's what we got to do. Unfortunately, though, even I know people who've given their credit card numbers to these people. That's a sad proposition. This has been Tom, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.